This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by Doom Scrolling. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm not fine, y'all. And now, on to the episode. Voice acting magic. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. I am your host, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back. We are at that point in the hellscape that is living in Texas, dealing with climate change, but really the planet as a whole doing not enough to fix what's already been done to this beautiful, poor globe. It's too hot to be in the booth, is basically what I'm saying. What a way to say that. You could have just been like, I'm in the living room, Terri, but no. I decided to do that instead. I'm in the living room doing a bit of a different setup. I'm still watching a movie. For those that are new, I used to do a top 5. Now I just watch whatever the hell I want to watch and keep you in the mystery. That is, what the fuck is she watching while she's talking about God knows what? And today, I almost, like anybody who's listened to the show, almost was like, oh God, she's going to put a beep in there. Nope. Don't worry. I'm watching something that I really love that I hadn't watched in a very long time. I will say there is something, Stephen and I were talking about this as we were setting up. There is really something about the booth setup versus the living room setup. The booth, I'm locked in a tiny little booth where I may most definitely get a little sweaty, but it's just not worth the risk of possibly passing out from heat stroke right now. Like, no matter how good your AC is in your booth, you're going to get a little steamy no matter what. But here in the living room, it's really nice and cool. It's just a very different vibe. I have to stay stationary versus just kind of like, I tend to sway a lot and I do little steps here and there. Not too much now, I don't want you to hear my old lady knees, but I have to stay stationary and that's fun. But I will say, I get more movie options in the living room than I do in the booth. So a little behind the scenes secrets here. But yeah, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. It's chaos. It's mayhem. It's another episode with me. And I might have already said welcome, but welcome. You're welcome. And I'm sorry. But we are back again, which means another month has come and gone. And I have a lot of feelings about it. I'm sure you do too. This month went by fast, and I'm not even shocked anymore by that. I mean, didn't we just talk? But it's gotten hotter. It's gotten more chaotic. And, and not that I'm complaining that we're doing another episode in what feels so soon, because I love talking to y'all. And hopefully this is a bit of a bright spot. Not the only bright spot. A good chunk of brightness, a color block of brightness to whatever day you've decided to tune in or whatever year you've decided to tune in. Let's kind of keep up with how we've been doing it here for a while now. Let's start off by talking about the media we consumed this month since the last time we talked, because as you may or may not know, I record this a little bit before the month is done, so I can have it out by the end of the month. Wow. Again, more behind the scenes stuff. But yeah. So, May was filled with a lot. I'm typing. Oh my God, she's so professional. I was typing something out. It's time sensitive. Oh my God. I just did that instinctively. Sorry, guys, if you heard that. If you didn't, it is because of the magic that is Stephen Hoff. He does do a couple of things here and there in post-production, which I really appreciate. But yes. Anyways, we were talking about May media, and we're starting with music. I listen to everything, and I'm so grateful to be recollecting physical media. I just did my second visit to Rag and Bone in Hearst, which if you haven't checked it out and you're a record person, definitely go check them out. The owner's name is Heather, and Heather is badass. And who doesn't love tangible media? I mean, who? I don't want to meet that person. But they have this great little shelf wall in this little nook that's nothing but CDs, and that's for me. I want to collect records, but that is a new collection stop for me. I'm a tape head, as you may or may not know. I do a lot of VHS, but I also do a lot of CDs. And a big thing that I've been doing is recollecting CDs that I had a decent collection. And when my dad passed away, I got his CD collection. And that was, I'd say the CD, catalog that I had, that was at least 200 CDs, which, I mean, guys, when the Grapevine Mills Mall, local DFW hotspot, when that opened, a huge store that was, I think it's a clothing store now. Actually, it's been so many different things. And, but when Grapevine Mills Mall first opened, it had a Virgin record store. And that is where I got a lot of my CDs, FYE and Sam Goody, all these, but the Virgin record store, that is where I got a lot of my CDs. So I'm trying to think back to, in my heyday, how much CDs used to cost. I really don't think they've changed much as far as cost, but think about 200 CDs and put them at like 15 to 20 bucks a pop. It's a decent amount of money. When I moved back, I lived in South Texas for a while after my dad passed away. But when I moved back to the North Texas area, I was just at Chili's one night with a friend of mine and came out, and my truck had been broken into. They took my CD player that my father had helped me install. This was our last day or last couple days together in South Texas. My last time hanging out with him at his place. He put in a CD. He wanted to put in a CD player in my truck. So I had better ways to listen to music on the way home. That's like an 8-hour drive. So that was stolen, and all of my CDs were stolen. My friend Nathan's guitar was also stolen, but maybe it's selfish, but I'm like, you can get another guitar. It's like, you can get other CDs. I'm like, yeah, but those were my dad's CDs. So I have slowly been recollecting those. And I've gotten a couple here and there. But at Rag and Bone, I found Cranberries, which was a lot of fun. And some more garbage. I forget what else, but other things I've been listening to, Bob Moses, Deftones. I now have two Poe CDs, and they're the really only two Poe CDs that I can name. I don't know if Poe came out with other things, but that's a big chunk of Terry as a teenager right there, is listening to Poe with some girlfriends of mine. But System of a Down has been, I think maybe if you were driving by me the past month, you might think that the CD is stuck in my CD player in my car, but Toxicity is just that good. It is, you know how sometimes, dating myself, you would get the single of a tape or the single of a CD. So, because sometimes you really only liked one song on a thing. I can't skip a single song on Toxicity. I just love that album so much. I need to get the other ones. But In Vogue, I've loved getting back into In Vogue. Sublime, Drums, Ursine Vulpine. They did a lot of stuff that I really did a lot of storyboarding to when I was not burned out on writing. Hidden Citizens, which I forget who, if you're listening, remind me that it was you, got me into, because they had told me when they were listening or reading my book that they would listen to tracks by Hidden Citizens and kind of imagine some stuff in their head for the world that I'd created. And so I got into them that way. And Sophie Ellis Bextor, I'm a little late on that one, but Murder on the Dance Floor is, it's a really fun one to work out too. Guns N' Roses, and a band that I think a friend at Guitar Center got me into. Is a guy that we called Gregors, or Gregors. He really got me into Silversun Pickups. And especially my favorite song by them is Dream at Tempo 119. So I'm sure there's more that I've listened to, but those are the first ones that came to mind. And gosh, so lucky. Just so unbelievably lucky to be able to listen to stuff. Also at Rag and Bone, I found a CD, a little boombox. I've been looking for a little boombox that I can just carry from room to room. It's just hard to find a CD player now. But this one, I can also send stuff via Bluetooth to it. And just also the radio. Sometimes the radio is fun too. I know I'm being so like, oh, you remember nostalgia, but like, you remember nostalgia? That's a really weird thing to say. But yeah, it's fun. That's it for music for now. Who knows what we'll be listening to in July? And obviously there are go-tos. Like it's probably not gonna go a couple of days without listening to some Typo Negative or Garbage or, Apache or something like that. But as far as shows, finished Ghosts. I got to the season finale, and I'm really glad there are going to be 2 more. At least it's been greenlit for 2 more seasons. Ghosts it's just a cute show, but it can also be like dark sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's still very cute, but it ended on a very interesting cliffhanger that I won't spoil. But yeah, again, I've never watched the UK. I've only listened to clips or watched clips here and there on TikTok. And like, I'm an Anglophile, but I just, I like this one. Sometimes it's what you were exposed to first. And yeah, so I don't want to hear about how it's superior, blah, blah, blah. They are very different things. So yeah. I'm still watching Daredevil. I did take a break for a little while, but I gotta tell you, rewatching season 2, I did speak a little bit last time on my love of Frank Castle, and something I forgot initially when I watched season 2 is how much this is pretty much any incarnation of Elektra, comic, first Affleck movie, blah, 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 whatever. I find Elektra Nachos incredibly annoying. And I was trying to get through this rewatch with scenes of her, but I gotta be honest, I've just been skipping them. I've just been skipping Elektra episodes, and it's been fine. Nobody died except for Elektra. That's so stupid. But I'm still I'm like 1 episode behind on Doctor Who, and I'm so glad I had posted about the cartoon episode, which I believe is the 2nd episode of this current season, and it's got Alan Cumming as the main bad guy who happens to be animated. And I gotta tell you, if you ever think that you're good at something, literally just look up Alan Cumming and being like, man, maybe I don't stand a chance if Alan Cumming exists in this world to like be remotely seen as like an amazing anything, because he's so good. And as that, I just kept rewatching that episode over and over because I just loved his performance. And then there have been a couple of episodes that have just been stellar this season. But again, it's Doctor Who, so there's at least one stinker, and I think I found it, but I don't want to talk about it because it upset me so much. And if you're currently watching Doctor Who, you might be able to guess which one it is, but I could barely get through it. But the big one, the one that I've been trying to remain spoiler-free online about, is Andor. I finished Andor this week, and it's a show that I've been keeping up with my friend Adam Sheehan, who's an amazing individual and a great person to geek out with. But he's like trying not to spoil stuff for me. And then at one point I text him assuming that he had finished stuff. He's like, whoa, what are you doing? I'm like, sorry, man. I think I would have surprised him less if I'd like been in the room with him and like pulled a gun on him. I think he'd be less offended by that than like being like, oh yeah, so K2SO is finally back. And he's like, what the fuck, Terry? Yeah, it was it's the best, quote me on this, it's the best thing Star Wars has ever done. And there were no lightsabers, no one with the last name Skywalker. It was amazing. And I already miss it. And it was so good, but I don't want to spoil it because it's still so relatively new that I think it would be crappy for me to spoil any of that right now, except for obviously the K2SO thing, which he was in the trailer for season 2. So yeah, it's my favorite Star Wars character. That shouldn't shock anybody. Oh, and I guess I've been keeping up with the new All-Star season of Drag Race, which I'd kind of fallen off on Drag Race a bit. I was rewatching some stuff, but this current All-Star season, really, really good. I like this kind of fantasy football, fantasy drag element, which drag's already amazing as it is, where you just get, the drag queens get a little more time to shine by the way they've broken it up. And I'm really enjoying it. Irene the Alien, Bosco, Aja, like, and as far as movies, the big one is honestly a rewatch of Rogue One right after Andor. It hits different. I will say one thing that everyone's like, oh my God, it just hits totally different. I can still watch both separately. And I will say Diego's accent is stronger in Rogue One than it is in Andor. But that makes sense because in canon, obviously, Andor happens before Rogue One, obviously. But they were shot at, like 10 years apart. So Diego's done a lot more work since then, as that character. So it's just going to hit different. But I don't know. Let's see, what else? Well, obviously, I watched on May 4th, I watched all the... Oh, no, not all of them. I watched 1 through 6 of Star Wars. And I was trying to explain to Steven, because we were watching 4. We were watching New Hope. And he's like, I haven't seen this in a while. I don't remember this. I'm like, no, it's the new editions. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you remember like in the late 90s, that's when they started re-releasing all of them with like new, like with updates, like Jabba now was updated to be completely computer generated. In the initial theatrical run, Jabba was a human being, and then they just kind of changed it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's like, whoa, I hate this. I'm like, well, we still, I'm a tape head. I'm like, I have the last tape release of the theatrical run, and we started watching that instead. He's like, oh, these are so much better. I'm like, well, let me explain to you like the differences at the end of Return of the Jedi versus the theatrical, like versus the newish digital blah, 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 blah. Oh, and I think I'd already recorded the episode for April, but I did do Alien Day on April 26th, the LV426. And I a friend of mine is a hardcore Alien fan like me. And she's like, you watched Alien versus Predator? I'm like, yeah. She's like, you disgust me. She's sarcastic about it, but she's like, that's not canon. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. I mean, when I watched it, I was a little, There were a few movies in 2004 that were just like, hey, what about... they did a remake of Dawn of the Dead that came out in 2004. And there was a Freddy versus Jason that I believe came out either in 2003 or 2004. We had a weird little renaissance at some point of just, hey, what if we did this? And somebody went, yeah, let's do that. Alien versus Predator, not a perfect film, but what is a perfect film? As much love as I'm talking about with Rogue One, I still cringed quite a lot during the Peter Cushing CGI. But yeah, rewatching Alien. I watched them, or I tried to watch them in canon. I just started early in the morning. It was like Alien versus Predator, and then Prometheus, then Covenant, then Alien Romulus, Aliens, Alien 3, and I fell asleep to Alien Resurrection, and then watched it again the next day. Yeah. Good times. I know how to party, okay, is what I'm telling you. But yeah, other things. I was doing a rewatch of the Twilight Zone movie, and I think this is the first time I clocked that Nancy Cartwright is in it, which was random. Other things, That Thing You Do. Oddly enough, it's a movie where the song never stays stuck in my head. I think because they play it so much throughout the movie. Did a rewatch of Sister Act. Hellraiser 3, I got the unrated version on VHS, and so it was kind of jarring to see all these little scenes that really amount to nothing to change the plot, but it was fun to watch. And I rewatched 1 and 2 of Final Destination. I have 3. As I'm punching stuff, I'm just punching everything. Sorry, co-producer, co-creator, engineer extraordinaire. I just punched the pop screen. And listeners, hopefully that wasn't too jarring for y'all. But the Final Destination movies, I own the first 3. I can't watch 4. I just can't. And 5 was phenomenal. I just haven't bought it. I really think I could buy 5 and not feel like I'm missing 4 in my collection. But all of that set up for me to watch 6. I'll probably wait for it to come out on DVD or digital. But I believe it was Tony Todd's last movie. And who doesn't love Tony Todd? Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I say that and I know some people have a problem with, not a real murderer or anything like in slasher films or like a real threat. But I mean, death. I mean, that's something, I think that's maybe too much for some people. But hey, these movies taught, my entire generation to be afraid of being behind a log truck. And I saw a video where logs fell as presently as in the past week. So we're staying safe out there. Thanks to movies. Movies are art. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, I think that's it for movies and television. And then as far as books, I've been in a bit of a slump. I feel like what I'm trying to be better at is just not finishing a bad book, or if I know I'm going to skip around, not rating it and just putting do not finish. Trying to be better about that. But some books, Stephen and I have been talking a lot about Down with the System by Serj Tankian, who is the lead singer of System of a Down, as well as an amazing activist and just an all-around cool person. I watched his Mythical Kitchen, which I follow on YouTube. I love them. They have a bunch of different fun videos, and I got into them actually only recently, and then just started watching their back catalog with I started watching them, I think, when they had Trixie Mattel on, who is a favorite of mine. But Serj was on, and he just got me really interested in his book and his journey. So down with that. And let's see, what else? The Alpha of Bleak Isle by Catherine Moon. If you're into dragon shifting and all that, both are in the dragon universe, not one human, one da-da-da. I'm hit or miss on whether, like, if both main characters aren't, supernatural. I don't know. I'm weird about that, which is so funny because I grew up on, like, Buffy and shit. I don't know. But Arrogant Devil by R.S. Gray, Revved to the Max by Melanie Moreland. Most of these have a romance element, but I love romance. An Acquired Taste by Skyla Gray. And The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. That was a fun, very different read. Incredible world building in there. And I'm hit or miss on mafia romances, but I did like this one because the mob boss was a woman. A Love Most Fatal by Kath Richards. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And if you read any of these things, please let me know what you think. I mean, unless you hated it, then I probably won't respond. But yeah, so that was media for May. You're welcome. I'm sorry. Let me get some water. I guess we were doing a sound test, like pa 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 pa, doing my warm-ups and everything. And I guess it's because I've been reviewing that anime show that, we're doing levels, and I said, just as a test, welcome to Obscure Chatter. I am your host, Terri Doty. And then I said, with me as always is, and I was like, whoa, I've never had a co-host on Obscure Chatter, but obviously my brain has just gotten used to like having Tatum from that anime show introduce himself, which is so funny. But yeah, so we're still trucking along with that anime show. I really want to say thank you to the people that have let me know how grateful they are that we're re-releasing those episodes. I even had a couple messages about it from a fan in New Zealand that was thanking me for making sure to get those episodes back up on YouTube, and then another one in the UK that wanted me to run down the numbers of that. I'm like, I don't know, just please search TAS Rewind. I try to keep them named all right, but we're still going, and we have new episodes, I believe, until August of this year, which is 2025 if you're listening to this at any other point in time, and aren't aware where we are in the catalog. But yeah, we'll keep those YouTube ones up forever. Really trying not to edit the episodes, but if someone complete and utter garbage or something completely out of left field, or if we're promoting something that isn't a thing anymore, we're trying to cut that out. But yes, again, thank you for your patience. We are still doing them on Thursdays, releasing them on Thursdays, and they're still work. They take time to go through, possibly edit, and just convert them to video and upload them to the site and write new blah, 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 blah. So thank you guys so much for appreciating the effort that we've been putting into them. And it's definitely a passion project. So thank you for that. But yeah, like, we've been trying to... did get a couple of messages like, please talk about this, please talk about that. One thing was to get a request on or an update on the doctor stuff that I'd mentioned a couple of episodes previously. We will talk about that. And then, it's, y'all know that I'm not afraid to get real on this show. And with everything that's happened and continues to happen between the stuff that's happening and the requests for topic discussions, it's a lot. And then in my brain, I'm like, well, I have to talk about this. Yeah, no, like I have to talk about that. And we're back to a point where there's just so much that, I'd said previously, Stephen and I have a thing, like no chaos before coffee, no disasters after dinner. And we keep finding ourselves like trying to talk about stuff until like we're just asleep. And I know that it is a privilege to just be talking about some of this stuff. We are already running into some things, like obviously higher grocery bills. My father-in-law is dealing with a bunch of bullshit from Medicaid baloney. And then I've been worrying about my medications. I've been worrying about how my medical history could get used against me and maybe perhaps make me ineligible for some health insurance stuff. When we made this joke at one point, Stephen went to Colorado to camp for a couple of days. And I was terrified of what his experience would be when he crossed state lines. I live in Texas, if you don't recall. And he's like, yeah, it was fine. And then I'm like, yes. And I brought this up casually to a friend, and they're like, oh shit, I didn't think about this. I'm like, because they're like, how's Stephen enjoying Colorado? And I'm like, he's enjoying it. Like, you didn't want to go? I'm like, well, I didn't know if I was allowed past state lines with, these eggs in me, like as a joke. And they're like, oh fuck, I know you're joking. I'm like, I'm only halfway joking. So yeah, that's been an interesting thing. And I know keeping up with people just getting picked up off the streets and a stupid orange man continuing to be stupid and more orange, and so many things being like beyond like Idiocracy, the movie as well as like the term itself. But like, these aren't even remotely like funny. They never were, but like, it's just constantly being tired, constantly being exhausted. And there just hasn't been a break. I'm sure you know that too. There's always something, and it's always somehow worse. I miss good things in abundance. Like, sure, good stuff happens, but it's been very much in the minority. And, when people do that, like, hey, how are you? It's the horrors persist, but so do I. I'm like, just trying to keep it chill. And they're like, right. But if someone's like, you're not doing great, I'm like, who's doing great right now? Like, you don't want to get into an argument with just anybody asking you how you are. But maybe sometimes I'm like, let's poke the bear. I don't know. But I continue to be fucking exhausted. And if you're a good person with a good heart, you're exhausted too. I just have to assume you're exhausted too. If you're not exhausted, you're not paying attention, or you are and you're loving it. I just want to know who's doing it up well right now that is someone that I would actually give a fuck about. I'm guessing no one. But yeah, you heard my water. But okay, so I wanted a doctor update, and I forget exactly where we left off. Where they left me with a bill that should have been covered by my insurance, but they coded it wrong. And they had been calling us like every couple of weeks being like, hey, notice you haven't paid the bill. Notice you hadn't paid the bill. Notice you hadn't paid the bill. It got to the point where like on our final thing, they're like, you guys have called so much that we actually have to put this to a higher level. You can't call us again. You have to call this number and blah, 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 blah. And we didn't hear from them for a couple of weeks, but I did get like another reminder that I still owe money. So now the person that we were calling to try to resolve this just won't take our calls anymore. And I still owe money for something I shouldn't owe. Between me and Steven, they have not adjusted our bill at all. And not only that, during one of the engagements where we were like, no, we didn't discuss anything outside the wellness visit. They said that we did. They said that I showed up late, even though I arrived with Steven. And they said that I had requested all these different tests, but they couldn't point to what had been noted as to what was a special test that I had apparently requested, which, again, I did not request. But yeah, they just straight up are lying, saying that I'm just not wanting to pay for stuff that I asked for. Like, so that's fun. And that's kind of just where I'm at right now. If it goes into collections, I don't have to pay that. I won't pay that because I didn't do anything wrong. And that's light compared to, what other people I personally know are dealing with. And then just the horror stories you hear from other people. It's not cool right now. I just want to go to the doctor, and make sure that I'm doing all the stuff that I need to do and not be made to feel like a complete piece of shit. And I don't remember the last time that that happened currently, but maybe just so much is going on that I'm just exhausted and I can't remember. Like, oh, ha. But yeah, so the update is that there's no real update, just lying bitches being lying bitches. That's about it. And then I did have a big freak out when the deadline for, I don't know if anyone else had this, but for the real ID thing, like, you better get it. And not realizing I actually did do it during I'd say the lockdown, but it was when the lockdown had already happened and people were a little more understanding. When we had those stickers and those little things that's like, hey, try to stay 6 feet apart from people, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, it just seems like we should have always been doing that and we should still be doing it. But yeah, I don't know about people in other states, but here, I've straight up had people be like, what are you talking about? What lockdown? Like, that's where we're at here. Like, okay. All right, sure. Like, I was recording at a studio and the engineer came in to adjust my microphone, which is fairly standard. And he's like, you don't have to hold your breath. I'm like, I'm holding my breath until you leave the room. And he's like, why? Because of trauma, Kevin. Trauma. It's like, really? I just set the mic and leave me alone. Lock me in this booth. Leave me alone. But I had needed to get my license renewed at the time that lockdown was happening, and they're like, oh, we'll still accept your expired ID because of, these circumstances. We'll still accept your ID as valid. But literally everywhere I went, they're like, your license is expired. I'm like, yeah, I can't get it renewed right now because of this. And like, well, I was still drinking at the time. I'm almost 2 years sober now. But like at the time, I was like, I just want some wine, God damn it. But yeah, it's fun. But I didn't know at the time that when I finally went to the DPS, I want to say DMV, but like we don't call it that here. I had gotten my real ID, and it was wonderful because also it was so quiet. All the chairs and all the seating was 6 feet apart from everybody. It was so quiet and so quick, and you had to have an appointment. You couldn't just show up like, oh, what a wonderful time. But all of that, and then it had this hokey ass real ID on my driver's license. Like, that's really what it is. It just seems so stupid, like a fake ID. Like something like a fake ID would have. Like, guys, this is a real ID. It says real ID on it. And so, yeah, we have that. But just, I still have every ID I've ever had. And somebody was like, no, you're supposed to destroy those. Like, who's gonna benefit from my old ass ID? Well, I mean, I say that, like, who's going to benefit from it? There was a point in high school. It wasn't expired then. Because this was during high school. I had left my wallet in my backpack and left my backpack in my truck in my driveway when I was a teenager. And then overnight, my truck had gotten broken into. Same truck with the CDs, but this is like 2 years before. And, you know, I was going to school and opened up my truck and I had to like go back in and show my mom, like, there's glass on the seat, and she's, God damn it. We called the cops, and when the cops showed up, they actually didn't show up to talk to, you know, to file a report for that. They came to talk to me about a break-in that had happened. And this like cop, tiny, short, you know, that little portly cop walk that I don't think needs explanation. This guy like walked up all, hey, I need to speak to a Terri Doty. And he was holding my ID, which had been in my wallet. And my mom immediately was just like, what do you want? like caught in front of me, like, he's like, well, we need to talk about a robbery that occurred last night. Like, and my mom's like, the fucking what? She like looked over her shoulder. She's like, don't say anything. But they were like, yeah, there was a break-in at this house. And when people were fleeing the scene, your driver's license and social security, I was stupid. I carried my social with me too. And he pulled that out too, were found in the front yard. Like, okay. And he's like, do you want to explain to me, you know, how they got there? And again, my mom's like, don't say anything. And she looked at the cop. She's like, okay, so in this like scenario that you're painting here, my daughter decided to break into a house the cover of night, and she did that with her ID in her pocket. I'm like, Mom, what are you like getting at? She's like, okay, even if it was my daughter, she's not stupid enough to have brought her ID. I'm like, I think I want to be complimented by this. But she was like, so, when you pulled up, God forbid, I thought you were here to actually talk about a report that we wanted to file, because my daughter's car, as you can see, pointing at my truck, like, as you can see, it was broken into overnight. And in her backpack, which isn't here, her wallet was in there. Oh man, actually now thinking about it, I'm like, I missed that wallet. It had flames on it and a chain. There definitely were signs I wasn't heterosexual. I'm only halfway kidding on that. Like, I don't think a wallet would have been a clue, but maybe it would have been. You're like, wow, that girl is not straight. But, yeah, my mom's like, we called you because her truck got broken into and da-da-da-da-da. And I don't know if my mom was just that convincing, or if that guy was just tired of getting yelled at by this very loud woman, like in the morning, or if he actually believed us. But he's like, oh, well, da-da-da. She's like, so is she going to get the ID and her social back? And he's like, well, da-da-da. She's like, what are you going to do with them? It's like, she needs them, so give them back. And he like handed them to her like a frightened little boy. And she's like, so are you actually going to start doing the report? Because obviously it's stupid for you to have come over here assuming that my daughter broke into somebody's house in the middle of the night with her ID. Like with her ID on her. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah. So maybe if it had said real ID, they would have just picked me up. Who knows? Oh, good times. Oh, yeah. I mentioned like front lawn. We had a weird, I believe I had a sponsor of an episode be like neighbors, and like played like the audio from like one of my neighbors getting on to me about mowing our lawn a certain way. But we got a notice we had just mowed our lawn. We got a notice like, hey, you have 5 days to fix this. And we literally went outside and they're like, there's nothing. There's literally nothing that needs to be mowed. Like, you have 5 days. So we like mowed it again. Like, it literally looks the same. So we'll see. I could be facing up to a $2,000 a day fine, which that seems like some HOA bullshit. I don't live in an HOA for a reason, bitches. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I like actually called them to be like, hey, can you specify like what needs to be cut? And they never called me back. At all. But I'm like, was it a neighbor that maybe narked about something? Like, literally nothing was over 12. I think it's like 12 inches or something high. It can't be higher than that. Like, or I'm just going to put a bunch of like state flowers or some shit in my yard and a bunch of fucking clover. So I'm legally protected somehow. Or if I could find a way to like get my front yard claimed as like a flower sanctuary or some shit. I don't know. I'll do it. Anything not to mow my fucking lawn, because I think people that really are intense about their lawns don't believe clitorises are real. I've never met somebody that's intense about their lawn that's interesting. Period. But yeah, just all in all, like, yeah, I know it's like, oh, hey, I'm wearing new glasses right now, and that's been an interesting thing. It's my first pair of progressives. So it's the top is for distance, the middle is for like computer, and the bottom is for reading. And guys, I gotta tell you, I feel very old and very blind, but I skipped an upgrade last year because I didn't have eye insurance at the time, but I did this year. And it's like, oh yeah, no, it can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks for your eyes to really get adjusted to these. Like, so it's been really a lot of fun to voice act and work out and everything with glasses. Glasses are fun. And I say voice act, I've been doing stuff still from the home that I can't talk about, but I did have a couple of things that have been out recently. I'm Queen Muriel in The Beginning After the End, which you can hear me, I think, like just in a couple of lines currently. And I'm also no. Whoa. I'm also no. That's not okay. But I'm Kotono Shiunji in the Shiunji Family Children. And thank you guys that have been keeping up with me on social media for your very kind words. It was a little weird that a couple of people had tagged me in like pirated video. I just felt like a mom kind of being like, excuse me, don't do that. But you know, again, as I have said numerous times, both on here and on social media, as a non-union performer, that's SAG eligible, if you're curious. As a non-union performer on a non-union project, I get nothing outside of what I was booked for, which is typically an hourly rate. But I've been in about 4 things that you guys will never see because of piracy. So, when you pirate, just kind of think like, am I hurting the property that I love by pirating? But also, end of the day, just don't show me or talk to me about it. Like, that's a very minimum on that, please. But yeah, it's been fun to be up at the studio a bit more regularly. I've been in kind of a bit of a slump, but that happens in acting. That's one thing that, like, I was talking to a couple of actors up there. Because I'm hearing a lot of new voices that I just personally hadn't interacted with. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, so-and-so sounds like this person that we work with, and someone being like, it's cyclical. Like, I don't know. I'd like to think that no one does Terri Doty like Terri Doty. No one makes someone ask the question, can she do anime? Like Terri Doty. But it's been a lot of fun to interact and engaging with new engineers, getting new inside jokes. Like a big one with one engineer that I've been working with a lot is I tend to break equipment, which I've talked about before. But when I was directing Baka and Test, because of my weird electric thing in my body, which can sometimes be referred to as the poly effect, I actually set a computer on fire once. Like smoke and everything. My engineer, Joe, and I had to like run out and be like, fire! And an engineer went, okay, and then saw the smoke like, oh, fuck. So this engineer I've been working with is like, everything was working in there when I tested it before you walked in. So if it didn't, that's on you, Doty. Like, oh, I've missed interacting with people. But it's just been a while, mostly working from home. Sometimes you forget, like, man, something about the collab that I missed. It's just been a minute. But yeah, love it. And also reconnecting, speaking of reconnections, this is why social media is good. Most of the time it is good. And it's reconnecting with people. I was talking about, I've talked about my dad and stuff here and there, but it was actually when I was living alone at my dad's place by myself after he passed away. I had, a whole life in North Texas that I kind of felt was just waiting for me, but so many people, relationships changed and people moved, relationships changed by the time I came back. Some people moved on. Like there was a girl that I was really into that I kind of had the idea that, when I came back, we would possibly, talk about making things more serious again. And that was not the case. And then a couple of friends that I thought would be like ride or die friends turned out to be like fair weather friends. But there was one person, her name is Jamie. I've known Jamie since I was a freshman in high school. She was a senior when I was a freshman, and she just always had like this energy. She made you feel awesome. And when she laughed at your stuff, like, fuck, I'm fucking funny, that kind of person. But she's just all around a really cool person. Beautiful singer. She did a lot of accents. Honestly, I'm shocked that she doesn't do voice acting as well. She was a theater person too. But we hung out at a coffee house together, and she was a big part of that group. But when I lived alone at my dad's, I was not in a good place, and I was very, very terrible about asking for help and asking for support. And what Jamie did was she took that option away from me. She said, I have taken some time off, and I'm going to drive down to South Texas and spend a week with you. And I started crying. I'm like, are you sure? No, don't waste your vacation days. And She didn't want to hear it. And I was underage at the time, and she bought me what I claimed. Oh my God, it's so funny. But I used to really be obsessed with Smirnoff Ice. Yes, I was a teenager in the early 2000s. But she got some Smirnoff Ice, and we went shopping together and all this stuff. But there was a night where we just took the Smirnoff Ice up to the roof of my dad's garage in the country and just talked for hours, got eaten up by mosquitoes, but it was worth it. And just drank some Smirnoff Ice and talked about life, death, and what I was missing while I was there, all that. But just when I moved back, a lot of relationships just shifted, and Jamie had started seeing somebody. And it just happens whenever you're seeing somebody, you stop hanging out with a big group all the time. And when the coffee house closed, a lot of us just scattered, and it just happens. I moved in with our friend John, and John already had 2 other people living there, including his brother, and I just lived with them and just worked a really crap job and all that stuff. And Jamie and a lot of other people, we all just kind of went our separate ways. But I found her on Instagram a few months ago, and her account was private. So I sent her, a request. So I don't know, sometimes, even if it's somebody that I've known forever, sending somebody a request, I'm like, oh man, what if they say no? And I just learned that we didn't just lose touch. She's like, no, go to hell. You know what you did. But we reconnected. And then very shortly after that, we switched from Instagram to texting. And then while Steven was in Colorado, Jamie and I met up for Thai food. And I pulled into the parking lot. I always show up early wherever I am. If I've just showed up on time, know that on time means I feel like I'm very, very late. I always show up early so I can decompress from whatever the drive was. But I was just talking to Steven on the phone, and then I just feel eyes on me, and I turn, and she's just leaning against her car, like the guy at the end of 16 Candles, just, hey, oh my God, and I gotta let you go. And we just held each other for a while. And I think the first thing I said to her was, oh my God, you smell like home. And she's like, I smell like bacon? What does that mean? And we just immediately fell back into our old rhythm. It was wild. We went, and Thai is one of my favorite, types of cuisine. And it's a place that she recommended. So we sat down, and the waitress, she's like, hey, how are you? And then Jamie just went, I just want to let you know, this is the first time I've seen my friend in almost 20 years. So we're going to be here a while. How long can we stay? Cause we'll just keep ordering food if we have to. And the waitress is like, you can stay till 4, and then I'm going to kick you out because we'll be closed at 4. And that's literally what she did. She brought the ticket at 4. We met up at 1. She brought the tickets at 4 and, tried to tip her very well. I hope I did. But she's like, why did you guys, how did you guys lose touch? Couple of other people came up and just wanted to talk to us. I think we were very loud and adorable, hopefully adorable and not annoying. But yeah, just great food, great waitress, great conversations. We caught up as much as we could in that short amount of time. And, brought up a movie that I introduced her to. We were talking about aliens, and asked me about my family. I asked about her family, and just catching up. And guys, it's just that was such a great highlight of the month, is reconnecting. Because so often I don't really make a lot of new friends anymore, and that is something as you get older. But also, a thing about getting older is reevaluating the friendships that you do have. It's are we friends, or are we just people that have known each other for a really long time? Are we colleagues? Are we just acquaintances? Very important things, because I've definitely had moments where, oh my God, I don't even want to mention who this person is, but someone is just hey, I noticed that you stopped following me on da-da-da-da-da. Oh yeah, well, it's just, we don't really chat. And they're I just want to know what I did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. I just don't want to follow you anymore. It's well, I thought we were cool. We are. I'm just saying, if I unfollowed Steven, I don't think I would get the kind of heat that this person was giving me. And that guy, Steven, is pretty neat. But yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff just in general. Nothing truly personally that I'm not working on or just kind of coming to terms with having to deal with, because the world is worlding and being an American is interesting right now. That's all I'll say about that. But I really needed that hang. And just like, yesterday, Steven and I did a big CD run where we just went to places, including Rag and Bone and Half Price, and looked at CDs and talked about music. And he wanted to go to this breakfast place, and I, in my brain, thought I was taking him. I don't really like to put things into Google Maps or Apple Maps. I try to remember where I am and try to find things just by my memory. I know I'm so crazy, but he's like, yeah, I want to go here. I'm like, okay, cool. And I drove us literally to a complete opposite direction, but still to a breakfast place. And I'm like, as I pulled in, I'm like, I thought I was taking you to the place you suggested, but I could have sworn it was right here. And we went in and had one of the best brunches we've ever had. The waitress was great. The food was amazing. I can't wait to go back. And we just talked. And, when things are getting shitty, it's really nice to just, at the end of the day, to be able to have at least that. Because life is unpredictable. But right now, I know that I at least have that. And I want to be able to hold on to that as much as possible. So a lot of complete and utter crap is going on, but I'm trying to focus on the bright bits. How are we feeling? Are we good? Are we bad? Are we both? Are we neither? Something else entirely? I mean, I get it. Regardless of your answer, I get it. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for listening and continuing to listen. Next month will mark 6 years that we've been doing Obscure Chatter. I mean, can you believe 6 years? In some ways it feels longer. In other ways it feels shorter. I'm debating doing something special. I don't know what I would do. Or maybe we just keep on keeping on. Who knows? But remember that if you have a suggestion or, blah, 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 you can always be a part of an episode, a future episode, by submitting questions and requests to obscurechatter@gmail.com. All submissions remain anonymous unless you don't want them to be. And yeah, it's I feel like I could have talked about more, but that's always the case. Right after an episode, I ask Steven to tell me what he liked about an episode, or if I'm really freaked out, I'm did that make sense? Blah. And we've adjusted some things here and there before publication. You don't need to know what, but I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, what are we gonna do? We're gonna read good shit. We're going to watch good shit. We're going to listen to good shit. Don't be a shit, and call people on their shit. But be safe about it. So you'll hear from me at the end of June. And until then, bye.